More and more authors are being accused of using AI to write their books, and recently I came across a post on Reddit of a woman who claims that she is being sued for defamation by a well-known romantasy author. And why is she being sued? Because she accused this author of using AI in her work, and now the author is saying that that's slanderous, that's defamation. Now, clearly, I have no way of knowing if this is true. This is a Reddit post, and these are just my comments on things that are publicly available, and they are just my opinions. Now, of course, many authors are rightfully very upset about being accused of using AI, and as tools like Pseudo-Write and Claude and ChatGPT become more popular, these accusations are, of course, increasing. There's a growing paranoia about AI generated content and the ability to see whether something really is AI or whether something has human flaws and human inaccuracies, and it seems like you can now be accused of using AI if your work is both too good and too bad. And of course those things are also very subjective. But there is some weight behind the accusations as well, because according to a survey I found 45% of authors and writers are using some form of AI in their work. It should be noted that that doesn't mean that their books are AI generated, it means that they use those tools in some capacity. And of course that does still mean that the majority of self-published authors are not using AI tools. So that's kind of the backdrop or context of what I'm going to be talking about today. And I'm going to put on the Reddit post now so that you can see the woman that I just mentioned in the intro. It says, "Help, author suing me for saying her book is AI in a review." I should also say at this point that I am a former lawyer, but not in this area, so I don't have any great specialty in this area. And also, since this woman says that she's from Florida, I know practically nothing about US law because I'm from the UK. But she says a few months ago she read a book that was recommended here, so on Reddit, and she's not naming it because, she's already in enough trouble, and she found what she calls an obvious AI line, and that is, "Let out a breath she didn't know she was holding." I mean, I would say that's not an obvious AI line at all. I've seen that in multiple books, and I've seen that in books long before we had any AI. And yeah, she says, "The woman is suing me." The post got a lot of responses from authors, as you might expect. And this person here says that speaking as a fantasy author, "You are the reader every author dreads. Do you know how hard it is to write with people like you out there?" And she goes on to say it's very hard to be an author right now and that the vast majority of us aren't using AI and we are fighting against AI. And there's someone here saying that yes, here in the UK this could be construed as slander. And there's someone here who points out that oddly enough AI was trained on our books. So of course it sounds like us. I'm going to say at this point that I don't think that authors can win, because it seems as though if your book is considered badly written or if it's very well written, it's likely that you may get some form of AI accusation. And there's also a lot of illustrators out there saying that they are being accused of their work being AI and that their book covers being called AI when they are not. And once again, AI art has been trained on human art, so a lot of it can look quite similar. And whilst yes, it's very easy to spot the ones when they have 6 fingers on both hands and random little appendages sticking out of them, it's not as easy as you would think to spot all AI art. And this is the part that really interested me when I was looking at this, and that is authors are changing the way that they are writing so that they can avoid accusations of AI. That is just something that just should not be having to happen, and is such a shame. And so, for example, there were people on there talking about the M dash, which if you don't know is the long dash, and it's very commonly overused by AI. Like if you speak to an AI, it will use that M dash all the time. AI is not very big on semicolons, but it loves a good M dash. However, if you tell it to stop using that and to use other things instead, it will do it, and it can be trained. So you can't just use the M dash as conclusive proof that that is written by AI, and of course the dash has been around for a lot longer than AI ever has. I did find this comment from someone who said that they've been using the M dash since AI was but a seed glimmering in the rotten swamp of tech bros' brains. Nice phrasing. And they say people forget that AI was trained on real human writing. So it's picked up those M dashes from somewhere. You can't always spot it by those. But what was interesting is that there are authors on here. So for example, this person asked, are we just cutting M dashes out now? I know I am, as silly as that feels sometimes. Someone said that they don't intend to, but they do find themselves hesitating before using them. And someone else replied that they are definitely cutting down on them. So there is definitely a growing conversation online about the way that authors are having to adapt their writing. And of course, when authors adapt their writing to not include these things, the AI will adapt because it is learning from us. So it's as though they're going to just have to keep trying to stay ahead of it all the time. And is that even possible? Another thing that writers said they were doing is switching to writing their drafts on paper so that they had a paper trail, and so that they could say, oh no, I've written mine, my drafts are handwritten here, and so here's proof that I haven't used a generator. And of course it isn't really proof, because in theory you could generate it and then handwrite it. Yes, it'd be a lot of effort, and I'm not saying that that's what these people are doing. I'm just saying how hard it is to actually prove or disprove this. And I think authors are really having to fight against it at the moment, and I am seeing accusations like wildly thrown about all over the place about AI at the moment. And I also wanted to touch on a category of people who actually get accused of using AI the most, and that is neurodivergent people. So neurodivergent people, and by this I mean autistic people, people with ADHD, people with dyslexia, and of course many other conditions as well, are more likely to be accused of using AI or of just being a robot. And this is because neurodivergent communication differs from neurotypical communication. And I have to tell you something, everything that I'm doing in my voice now, I'm having to make an effort to not be monotone. Okay, when I'm speaking to you, I have to add my inflections in, and it's something that I've learned to do over time, and sometimes I end up being over expressive and overcompensating, and that's because sometimes I can end up just speaking quite monotone and quite flat, and that's because I'm diagnosed with autism. And I have been accused of being AI several times, and I even got accused of being a robot about 18 years ago at a customer service job before AI ever existed, because apparently the way I write emails and the way I write messages is robotic. Now, this won't relate to all neurodivergent people, because all neurodivergent people are as different as all neurotypical people are. But many neurodivergent people, and particularly autistic people, tend to use quite literal language and may avoid idioms, or if they use idioms, they may sometimes use them wrong. Ironically, this can actually be tagged as AI detectors as suspicious, because it's just not how most humans communicate. Neurodivergent people are also more likely to use formal language, or what some see as overly formal language, to have an unusual sentence structure, and to talk in a lot of detail about certain topics. We tend to have difficulties with communication flow. Now, as a little bit of personal context here, I will say that I have been accused of being AI a few times, and it's getting more and more. So I do actually make my living as a writer, but not as a fiction writer. I do write fiction, but I've never tried to get anything published. Who knows if I will one day, maybe. But I make my living writing non-fiction. So I research and I write, and then I sell those things, and like the commenters were saying on Reddit, I too have trails, paper trails going back years with research and information on, and I've got loads of Word documents where I like type up all of my notes, and some of my products, you know, I've started working on before AI even came out, and I've certainly had interests in the niche I write in since way before AI came out. And recently I've started having people saying, I think this is AI. And I'm just there reading the reviews like, no, it's not, you're wrong. And even in my actual customer service messages, someone once replied, can I speak to a human, please? And I was like, no, I'm all that you've got. One person even downrated one of my products, saying that she really enjoyed it, she thought it was really well written, and she learnt a lot, but she couldn't be sure that it wasn't AI. And so because of that, she'd lowered my rating.
I know what you got on your SATs. Catch up.
What I'm also up against personally, and what I know many other writers, whether you are a fiction writer or a non-fiction writer, whether you sell digital products in some capacity or artwork, you are up against an absolute onslaught of pure AI generated products, and these products come on very quickly. So for context, the products I sell, each one takes me several weeks to research and write. However, I see these products coming on in my niche and they will release 50 in the same day. And of course, they are massively underpricing anything that I'm putting on there. And that has led to people saying things like, oh, well, I'd like yours, but they're a bit highly priced, aren't they? They're a bit expensive. And you're like, well, yeah, because these actually took work to make and I couldn't actually put them out for the price that these ones are out for, because I wouldn't even be breaking even. Now, these products currently, in the last few months, have started costing my business, around $1,500 a month net. And unfortunately, I don't know, maybe this continues to grow. Maybe I don't even have a business in a couple of years because I've been replaced by AI Gen. And of course I do have the option, and I'm ashamed to say that I've considered it. You know what, no, I'm not ashamed to say I've considered it, because it makes sense that I've considered it. I've considered, should I stop doing as much research? Should I stop writing highly detailed human products? Should I use AI generation tools and just down the price of mine? I don't want to do it, because part of the process is that I love to do it. I love to write and I love to research. I don't want to race to the bottom, so I'm probably just going to keep on doing what I'm doing. But what I'm facing is, I imagine, what a lot of people are facing, and there are entirely AI generated books now, whether fiction or non-fiction. And I know a lot of people think, well, yeah, but at the moment they're still terrible, and there definitely are some terrible ones. And we've seen some, and some have been caught. They've been caught out as AI. But the better the AI gets, the harder it's going to be to catch them. And I also want to talk to you about, where is the line? So where do we draw the line between using AI as a tool to help and something that is AI generated and unethical? Because you could look at this in multiple contexts, right? So there are students who are using AI to help them write their essays at the moment. And where's the line in that? If you are asking for help and bouncing ideas off AI and, I don't know, maybe asking where you can find certain studies, then is that okay? I think that might be okay. But if you are using it to be able to not have to think about what you're doing anymore, and to just generate the work for you and to not engage critically with it, then I don't think that's okay. And I think you end up hurting yourself, because you no longer have the capacity to think critically anymore, because you have given it away to something else. But let's look at writers of fiction. So let's say that you're let's say you're a fantasy writer, and you use AI to bounce your ideas off, maybe to do some proofreading and like some little bits of editing before it goes off to your actual editor, if you have one. And maybe you've got some writer's block and you're using that again to just brainstorm, or to help you plan characters or something like that. Is that okay? Do most people think that's okay? I think there's even a grey area as like what counts in using AI. So if you use Grammarly, is that different? Is that counted as using AI if you're just using it as a spell check? And what if you really need that? What if you're dyslexic and you're a brilliant writer, but you really struggle with spelling, or you really struggle with phrasing certain things, and so those tools really help? In those cases, could it be considered ableist even to say that the use of AI at all is unethical? I don't know. I don't have the answers here. I'm just posing the question. I would love to hear your opinion on this. And it also makes me think, how transparent should authors be? For example, is it okay if you use AI as long as you're transparent? But then again, what if you use some AI, but all you've done is slightly edited some of it using AI, or brainstormed a couple of little ideas, and then they mark you down as uses AI, and suddenly you're in the same category as something that is AI generated when that is completely different. The other thing I wanted to ask is, do you think that you can spot AI writing? There's a lot of people who really believe that they can always spot AI writing, and I'm just not sure that that's the case, because even AI detectors are known actually not to be the best and to have a lot of false positives. Funnily enough, I actually came across a comment of someone saying that they were absolutely confident that they could always detect AI, and I ran their comment through an AI checker, and the AI checker thought there was I think it said 40 to 60% chance that they were AI. I'm pretty sure that they weren't AI, I'm pretty sure it was a real person, but that just goes to show how it doesn't actually mean that we can detect AI, and these tools for detecting AI aren't reliable. They are AI themselves, so if we're saying AI is unreliable for other things, why are we going to rely on AI tools to detect the AI? And here's a controversial question for you. Does it matter? Do people care if they are reading AI or not? If they enjoy the book, does it matter if it was written by AI or a human? Now, of course, it matters to writers. They could be out of a job to AI. My business could close because I could be replaced by AI. And I'll be honest, I have looked at some of it and most of it is pretty poor, and I have seen a lot of inaccuracies. But when I look at the reviews, most of them are quite positive. Now look, most of them don't seem to realise that what they've bought is an AI generated product. But the point is, they're happy with it. So if they're happy with it, am I the one in the wrong for trying to charge more for my human written product? I mean, I will say that I think it matters. I think it matters, and I think most of us would rather support humans, but I also think there's a grey area. And I do think that just blanket saying that use of AI is unethical is also too far. There's no nuance in it. I don't think it's that black and white. I don't think most things in life are that black and white. In fact, something that I'll be talking about in an upcoming video is about how we are losing nuance, and how nuance on the internet is dying when it's so important. It's so important to be able to speak with nuance and be able to see the nuance on things, but it's not what the internet likes. It likes black and white answers, and the conversation around AI tends to be the same. It tends to be very one way or the other, very for or very against. In my next video, or at least in one of my next videos, I'm going to be reading you some paragraphs from actual books and also that I've obtained from an AI generator, and I'm going to be seeing if you can tell the difference. I want to make it into a little bit of a game, and I want to see if people really can pick up on AI as well as they think they can. So please do subscribe so that you can stick around for that, and please do let me know your thoughts on all of this. Like I say, I'm not sitting here claiming to have any answers. Like, I'm just a regular person. I'm just a regular, everyday, normal guy. Nothing special about me, I'm just a regular person who talks about books and bookish opinions, and I'm just a fallible human. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, and if you're an author, please do let me know. Let me know how this is affecting you. Let me know if you're changing the way that you write to not be accused of being an AI. Let me know if you have ever been accused of AI, or if you're afraid of being accused of AI, if you're an author or someone trying to be an author. And I can't wait to hear from you in the comments. So thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.